of some of the other supports that I talked about and focus more on their success in the 5v5, in the fights around Dragons and Rift Heralds and Barons and so on and so forth. So I don't think that 100 Thieves have much to worry about in that bot lane 2v2. But come team fight time, they've got to be very, very careful about that ball delivery service, because champions like Azir, like the Aphelios, if they are caught in that Rakan engage into a shockwave with the True Shot Barrage coming over top, you know, that Ezreal ultimate, that can be a 100-0 type situation.
At the same time, 100 Thieves has an incredible amount of damage in their carries with Azir, with Aphelios. These two champions scale to be able to put out an absolutely disgusting amount of DPS. And when I look at the top side of the map for 100 Thieves, when I see the Renekton and I see the Volibear, new Volibear hits like a truck and the damage comes out incredibly quickly. It's super front loaded. He can put down his entire combo in a couple of seconds. And Renekton, we know what he does in the lane as well. So I'm expecting these two to really carry through the early and mid game and allow that Azir, allow that Aphelios to get to the point where people are going to say some Keck W's in the chat at how much damage they're doing.
They might be talking about a certain amount of years, perhaps. You know,
yeah, maybe a couple centuries or so. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what does come out there. But I mean, you talked about the Volibear Renekton duo. It is incredibly strong. It's also one of the scariest tower dive type setups that you can have. People talk so much in the past about Renekton Elise as that combo. Volibear can fill a similar kind of presence, right? Where you can actually ult in, you disable the tower, you have this Renekton and the Volibear who both get bonus HP from their ultimates and are able to tank up tower shots after that turret does come back online to actually burst someone down. So that's something that Ruin is going to have to be very, very scared about. I do think that one of the things that we'll have to see 100 Thieves maybe being wary of is they don't have the best hard engage. Yes, you can hop your Volibear in there, but you know the follow-up has to be there too. So I think they're going to be more reliant on finding flanks with the Renekton, finding flanks with this Volibear. You know, maybe looking for shuffles coming out of the Azir, but for the most part, they don't have the same level of hard engage as CLG does. So CLG, you know, will have a better time actually picking their moment for these fights.
That being said, 100 Thieves does have a very solid disengage with the Braum ulti and the Azir ulti. So if CLG goes in, if they have a botched coordination, if everybody's not on the same page, making sure those initiations pop off at the right time, similar to what I was talking about, some of the errors we saw last night in the game against FlyQuest, it's an easy punish for 100 Thieves to make. So CLG will have to be precise with their executions.
I agree. I think it's one of those situations where both teams are going to have their strengths and weaknesses, and a lot of it, you know, comes down to, I think, when you have these types of compositions, like what 100 Thieves is running, is being first to actually set up in an area. Because if you can be first to an objective, and your opponents have to actually funnel through the Azir shoulders, you know, come into Aphelios and come into Braum and try to walk through all of these champions that can kind of block a choke in the map, it becomes extremely difficult. But if you are in kind of like an open area where CLG can find the way to actually get that engage, it could be pretty tough for 100 Thieves.
All right, looking across the map here, just sort of taking stock of everything in both teams' arsenals as we begin things. Wait for the minions to start spawning. It is 3 teleports on both sides here in this game. Both AD carries opting to take that non-combat summoner spell will provide them the ability to get back to lane more quickly, as well as more macro presence later on in the game. Both mid laners also going with that. Volibear on the press the attack. We've seen this as a pretty popular rune for him. Taking it for the same reason that Trundle does. It helps you duel early on. It helps add a little bit of extra damage to your ganks, and it still provides a team fight presence with the damage amp.
Yeah, some people do like phase rush on it. You know, I have heard a little bit of that. Sometimes you see Conqueror. So there are some options, but PTA from jungle I think is by far the most common. It's just has such a high level of efficiency. You know, baseline, it's very easy to proc, and you can use your W to help proc it faster, your Q as well. So it's very quick and easy to actually get that down. And you know, as far as the double TP here from the marksman, it's one of these situations where, generally speaking, Ezreal can just get away with it. And then if you know you're going to be going up against Ezreal, and Ezreal doesn't really have a kind of strong laning partner, you know, if he's paired with someone who has really, really heavy poke, and you're worried about potential kills, then you have to take heal. But because he's paired with the Rakan, Aphelios is so comfortable to then take TP himself, and that is going to allow him to match teleports, to keep this Ezreal pressured under tower, and to try to really keep presence in this lane. Because oftentimes how Ezreal really wants to use that teleport is to, get to tier or get to Sheen or even both, and then TP back, keep you locked under your turret, keep you trying to, farm at this disadvantage. Because if Ezreal gets push and doesn't have the minions in between you and him, that's where he can start poking you out and actually really get control of the lane. So Cody Sun taking TP to try to prevent that.
You can see junglers have started on opposite ends of the map and have moved all the way across both quadrants of their respective jungles. Meteos going for the full clear approach. You can see Wiggily doing the exact same thing here, except for that chicken camp for Wiggily. Trundle early on doesn't exactly clear that one super efficiently, so doesn't want to spend the time on it. You are seeing the Scuttle Crabs just now spawn, and it's Meteos on the top side crab. As bottom side, Wiggily sees if maybe there's an opportunity to do something here. Waiting for Smoothie to clear out the ward, but now he'll move into the crab himself.
Yeah, I don't think that 100 Thieves bot lane is going to step very far forward. When your ward is cleared like that and your jungler is topside, it's time to be scared. You really do need to be sitting back. The only way that Trundle is going to kill you off is if you kind of step too far forward and already able to actually retreat back to the tower once the pillar is behind you. So they're going to play it pretty safe, play it pretty slow, and they shouldn't be really at much risk for any sort of gank. And both junglers are going to end up with essentially the 6 camps plus the scuttle. We're going to see them actually recall and get back out on the map, and it's a pretty passive early game from these two. They can pull off ganks, but there are not super easy to gank lanes right now, and I think both junglers are going to be pretty happy to just go back and reset.
Yep. Chilling Smite purchased for Meteos there on the Volibear. You can see Wiggily not going for the reset here just quite yet. We'll fire off a Scryer's Bloom, and he's back on that top half of the map. Camps have respawned, so he can try to clear Gromp and Wolves here again if he finds that to be the better choice before going back to base, and it looks like he will. Bottom side, Cody Sun will find a little bit of damage here, but it's not really anything to be concerned about. For the side of CLG, when we're looking at the farm across the table here, it's honestly super even between everybody in every role. Nobody's getting out to any early lane advantages here.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that both junglers are actually playing Water Walking and Nimbus Cloak. These are very common secondaries, but just want to mention it because, while Volibear isn't traditionally known as this ultra strong early ganker, having Nimbus Cloak plus Chilling Smite actually makes your chase down in combination with your Q speed up quite powerful. So if you do overextend, you still have to be worried about that Volibear coming in and looking for that potential gank.
Yeah, Nimbus Cloak has been so strong for so long, practically a staple on every jungle that we see just because of how effective it is, particularly when used with Smite. Speaking of Smites, Meteos has his ready to go and is trying to solo down this Infernal Drake here. Considering they have priority in the bottom lane and mid lane both, this should be a very easy take here for the Thieves. Cody Sun coming over to help them and make sure they get that one cleared out. And that's first Drake over to the red side.
Very nicely done. 5.5 minutes into the game, you already grabbed that first dragon. If you are going to have priority on the bottom side, you should be stacking these early. And I do think that there's too many teams that tend to kind of ignore it and say, oh, well, we can grab it later when we want it. But you want to be having this stacking threat of a win condition, right? Because then if you are playing from an advantage, you have the ability to force your opponents to come to you and start fighting for those when you start hitting that 3 dragon mark or so, because people can't really afford to just give over 3 for free and have you sitting on soul point where 1 steal, 1 pick can mean potentially the end of the game. This is something that Cloud9 has done really, really well, and I do think that teams are kind of taking note. Cloud9, pretty much no matter what jungler they are playing, is always looking to stack those objectives, always looking to stack those dragons and force fights around that. And I do think, just kind of causing some of the other teams to sit up and take notice of that and really start to focus more on dragon objective control themselves.
Yeah, talking about playing against a team that might be able to outscale you later, or maybe you're just off to a really good start in particular, there's a big difference in being able to hit that soul and hit that big power-up at 23 minutes versus doing it at 28 minutes because you waited that extra 5 to start the first Drake because you considered it unimportant, right? It really is active versus passive gameplay, which is something that a lot of NA teams have struggled with over the course of the years. And like you said, man, if Cloud9's doing it, they're setting the example for other teams to do here in the league because they're so far ahead, and I love to see teams embrace more of an active style here. Wiggily will pass off the blue buff over to Pobelter. You can see the same thing being done as Meteos hands one off to Ryoma. Neither jungler getting involved in anything here just yet. Everything is super calm in these first 7 minutes of the game. No level 6s available. Well, 1 level 6. Okay, Meteos does have his just now. He's looking at Wiggily first and foremost, but he doesn't have his ready to go. Teleport's used on 3 out of 4 solo laners. Ssumday still has his, so if something happens in the bottom lane, there will be an advantage for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, that is actually a really big deal. It pretty much limits the options that CLG actually has on the table. It also is going to be still on cooldown for Ruin when this next dragon does spawn, which may mean either he has to give up presence in the top lane, potentially losing CS, potentially losing turret plates if somebody doesn't roam, or if he stays up in the top lane, it should be an easy dragon take for 100 Thieves in their second dragon of the game. So that's something that they are going to have to watch out for. It's also worth noting that it's actually a Fiendish Codex start here for Ryoma, which is pretty atypical. Oftentimes when we do see the Azirs go for this Comet build, they are going towards Illudens, they are looking more towards poke and kind of, you know, this lane focused style of build. This is probably going to be a Nashor's Rush, which is a little bit less common when going for the Comet. You know, oftentimes we do see people going more towards lethal tempo. So this is like a little bit of a mix of both. You know, Comet I don't think is nearly as strong in the later stages of the game, but getting towards your team fighting items like that Nashor's early can really help you. And it also really speeds up taking down objectives. We know how good Azir is at that, and the Nashor's just makes it that much easier.
Wiggily trying to clear out some vision here in the mid lane. Ryoma not getting those soldiers over in time to shut him down, as Pobelter just sort of hangs around this other side of the map here. You can see Meteos now seeing if maybe there's an opportunity to go grab the Rift Herald here, clear out the vision from CLG, and start this one up. He already managed to get one neutral objective in the bottom half of the map earlier, and now I like his timing on this too, because he's going after the Rift Herald while there's still 90 seconds before the Drake spawns, not leaving a window open for CLG to get something in return.
Very nicely done, grabbing both the early objectives already. Utilizing the Volibear, you know, Meteos has been able to get more done, to be honest, than Wiggily. Yes, they are about even in farm, but he got the Rift Herald, he got the Dragon. This is due in part to the fact that they have these winning lanes, but, you know, oftentimes when you commit time to those early objectives, junglers are hesitant to do that because they say, okay, well, we're going to fall behind as a result. Meteos is considering that level 6 dive, but Wiggily is here waiting.
Jungle battle in the Tribe Rush, and look at that damage coming out from Volibear. That's what I'm talking about. Volibear, his mouth might as well be a shotgun. It's just so much damage blasting you as soon as you walk within range of him, man. The dude hurts.
Just opens his big old mouth up. Surprise! He's got the big shotgun inside.
Instead of tonsils, there's just 2 barrels staring you down, bro.
Oh man, that is hilarious. But Volibear definitely can scrap, and especially when it is against one of those style of champions like Trundle, who just kind of stands on top of you and you both hit each other. I mean, you're dropping the E. Not only is it dealing damage, but that shield that is going to come through is going to help you win those trades even harder.
So strong.
And he does have that Rift Herald, so he would have liked to look for a dive onto Ruin. Despite the fact that Wiggily obviously loses that trade, we still should commend Wiggily for his game sense. He knows that if he's not up there, there's a chance that they actually just drop the Herald and turn off that tower with Volibear ult and dive and kill Ruin. So yes, Wiggily takes a little bit of a beating, but he also saved Ruin from potentially getting dove.
Yeah, and you can consider that a win. It's one of those situations where since he was there and nothing happened, you can just say, oh, well, didn't really amount to anything, huh? There, did it. You just kind of got slapped around by Volibear. But it would be very noticeable if he wasn't there and that's the plan that they decided to go for. So Ruin now trading pretty evenly back and forth here with Ssumday. Ultimate's still available here for both the top laners. The Drake is live. It's that lane state that you were talking about, Isaac, where Ruin is still there. He hasn't been able to get the time to rotate down here, just walk all the way down to the southern side of the map. And because he's at teleport disadvantage now, 100 Thieves feel more confident in trying to take this. Ssumday back to the base now, making sure he shops up and is fully ready if this is going to turn into something. But pings are coming out from 100 Thieves onto that Drake pit.
Yeah, I think it's not even going to be contested. You can see Wiggily was up on top side looking towards the scuttle. You know, Ruin is back at base without teleport. This should be a very easy dragon take here. 400 Thieves, and CLG is just going to try to make the best of a bad situation. Trundle got topside scuttle. He's going to try to steal away the Krugs on that top side also. So, you know, they're just trying to get a little bit of something. They didn't feel like they were in a position to actually win that fight either way. And something I'm seeing here that I'm not loving is the late cull purchase from Cody Sun, because that kind of tells you everything you need to know about what kind of a style of game they're expecting this to be, right? You bought the cull at like 11 minutes, and that tells me that you're like, well, we're going late, boys.
Oh no. Cull at 11 minutes. It's that type of a game. It's that type of a game. Ssumday's not having the best of trades up here against Ruin at the same time. But bottom side, we might finally see something that's not a cull. No, we won't. No, we won't. That's they baited us to thinking it was going to be something a little
don't give you
spicier.
cull stacks, Flowers. There's no need to go for those.
That's true. We can just abandon those, sink the ship. 100 Thieves doing a good job of knocking down a couple of plates before Shelly is summoned up. She does a little more than 2 plates worth of damage, so this turret just about taken out here. One more auto attack should do it. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Smoothie sticking around a little long.
Oh,
as the TP will be forced down here. CLG looking to collapse. Wiggly's making his way in from the side. This might be good enough, but 100 Thieves still doing their damnedest to escape. Nice initiation coming in from Smoothie there. Shockwave's able to pull one back, and first blood onto Cody Sun.
Very well done, taking down Cody Sun. Cody and Stunt really were trying to hold on to those summoners, and I think reactively flash away once they saw the engage committed, but Smoothie goes for the R flash, catches them very easily with that charm. Then it's going to be straight into the knockup, and Pobelter positioned the ball very well for that follow-up shockwave. So this was really good. 100 Thieves do get punished. They get that first turret, but with Wiggly moving down, with the TP coming in from Pobelter, you can see R gets popped here from Smoothie, R flash, really no time for them to react. That was honestly just very well done from Smoothie. And then I like the fact that Pobelter took that opportunity while they were CC'd to actually move the ball behind where Cody Sun was. So when Cody Sun flashed, he still is in range of that shockwave. And it's those little things that make those plays look so simple, but very well executed on there by CLG.
Also, good job by Meteos making sure that he used the ultimate to escape rather than using his flash. It's a shorter cooldown. It still gets you out. And you can see at the very end, too, he also walked back just a half step to make it so Stunt was able to dash to him and didn't get stuck in a situation where he could have been potentially chased down for another kill. So 100 Thieves, they did lose their AD carry, but they minimized those losses that they had to take, as Smoothie has now rotated up to the top side. You can see him trying to make a grand entrance there onto Ssumday, but it's not going to turn into much of anything, as Stixxay will hold the mid lane wave against Ryoma, and it's Pobelter pushing down here in the bottom lane, but 100 Thieves have a plan for him. Stunt and Cody Sun looking for the 2v1. Pobelter dodging away from the Winter's Bite. Without that slow, he is able to buy himself a couple of extra seconds. TP's coming in from 2 players on the side of CLG. 100 Thieves was not able to do their job in time, and now the counterattack is here in force. Cody Sun's already down. Stunt's going to be dropping next. A double kill to Pobelter. 100 Thieves thought they had the fight, and they just got slapped.
They're just losing track of these teleports. They are not taking it into consideration. This is a phase rush Orianna who is going to be fairly slippery. Remember, there's no summoners on anyone from that 100 Thieves bottom lane. So when you're going in here, it's not like you can just flash on top of him and insta-kill him. Pobelter sees you coming in. He can back off and try to proc the phase rush. They have TP on both Ezreal and the Aatrox. So it's actually, the double teleport that comes through here. Pobelter buys just enough time, procs the phase rush, backs it up. His teammates have arrived. Cody Sun gets knocked down, and despite the fact that Ryoma is TP'd in, it's too little too late. No way that he can actually protect his support in that situation, and Pobelter, he's the one getting ganked, and he gets a double kill.
Oh, but right back into the action we go. Ssumday trying to secure the kill onto Ruin here, as Smoothie tries very hard to keep him alive, and those efforts will not be in vain. Ryoma also barely going to walk away from this one. Ssumday continuing to push up, does have the Blade of the Ruin King on the Renekton, makes him very, very scary, especially with the empowered W, proccing it 3 times in a row, back to back to back. 80 carries hanging out here in the mid lane. 2 deaths so far onto Cody Sun's Aphelios. CLG doing a good job of trying to contain him early on before he's able to scale up. Looking for an opportunity here in the mid lane, but won't find it.
And not going to be able to get it. The first one I think was more of a good play from CLG, even though getting the first turret for the first blood is still worth it for 100 Thieves. The second one felt like more of an unforced error. 100 Thieves, though, are looking to set up around this third dragon. This is the one that I talked about earlier. When you get that really early first dragon, you continue stacking it. Third is generally where your opponents have to fight you because they're unwilling to risk putting themselves at soul point this early on in the game. But with the Rift Herald dropped, it does give CLG a little bit of priority mid lane. We'll see if they can actually use that to get kind of dibs on this dragon, so to speak. But it's not really giving them much positioning on it. 100 Thieves still have both Meteos and Ryoma over there. Ssumday is in the area, so as long as Cody Sun and Stunt can actually get this pushed out a bit, they could come over, and it could be a contest from 100 Thieves.
Both mid laners with a blue buff as well here, so should be able to help them keep spamming these spells back and forth as they try to force each other's teams away from this critical objective. As you already said, Soul Point early on, super scary for CLG because then they have to fight every single Drake after that.
All right.
They're in the pit. 100 Thieves aren't contesting this so far. Meteos has the ability to jump over the wall. He tries to go unstoppable, but that was not it. Stunt gets killed by the true shot barrage, and now 100 Thieves. It is just disaster into disaster. They've already lost 2. Might be losing some more. Good plays coming out from Ryoma here to salvage the fight. Cody Sun throws down a little bit of DPS, but Stixxay still at full HP. Means Thieves have to be careful how hard they want to chase this one. Ryoma continuing to move forward, as now he's summoning a soldier right on top of Stixxay's location, having to flash over there to the side. Stixxay nearly taken out, barely going to be kept alive, but Ruin can't say the same thing. All right, I'm not going to lie to you, Isaac. That ulti from Meteos and the subsequent early events of that fight looked real bad, but the Thieves salvage it thanks to Ryoma.
Yeah, credit to Cody Sun, Ryoma, and Ssumday for being able to kind of fight their way out of that deficit, because that was really botched by Meteos. He was in this awkward position where he wasn't quite close enough to the wall, and the ultimate, even though it has a lot of travel distance, it can be a little bit, I don't know, almost like misleading on how far you can actually go. Sometimes it looks like you can get over the wall more easily than you can. Either way, he tries to ult over the wall, he fails that, flashes in, dies immediately. This is just a terrible start, but Ssumday is able to get the slice and dice back to safety. Ryoma is in on top of Smoothie, has taken him down. Cody Sun hitting them with the Infernum, splashing them out, but it is really Ryoma who does deserve most of the credit here, as Wiggily took a pretty poor path back through him. That is kind of what forced the extension of the fight and allowed them to pick up a couple more kills. It's also worth noting that Pobelter is actually going for the Archangels this game. You know, going to be stacking it up for the additional shielding. Very commonly, we see Ludens. Almost only we see Ludens. I do think that situationally, you know, having this defensive, this essentially an extra barrier, can be very, very valuable and is often overlooked. So Pobelter, I think, is saying here that he is expecting the only way he's going to get taken out is from, you know, these kind of beefy frontliners diving in on him, you know, Renekton and Volibear getting in on top of him and bursting him down, and he is foregoing some of the extra burst to be able to have this extra defensive.
Cody Sun having to flash away defensively there in the mid lane as Pobelter nearly solo killing Ryoma here, has him down to 200 HP, and there you go. True shot barrage following him up just to make sure as Pobelter gives him the angry bee emoji and sends him to the grave.
Very well played by Pobelter. He doesn't even have to expend the flash, you know, knew he could actually get in range, had him warded out. And Pobelter has been so lucky to get some of these kills where, you know, it feels like 100 Thieves are kind of making big mistakes, and he is really grabbing a lot of these big kills. And this is such a powerful scaling champion. So CLG is going to be feeling really happy that they are going his way. You know, both those kills on the failed gank, so to speak, from Cody Sun and Stunt went towards Pobelter. Now Pobelter gets another kill, and it's a huge shutdown off Ryoma for 700 gold. He grabs the turret there. He is going to be so rich. I'm not sure if we can actually see how much gold he has, but I guarantee you he's at least going to have the Banshees when he goes back to base. And, you know, when this tier does finish stacking, with that plus Banshee's Veil, it's going to be really hard to ever see him getting just burst down.
And it's so important that he made that happen right at this point in the game, because of the fact that 100 Thieves was up over 2,000 gold before he got that shutdown, before he got that topside turret. Now they're looking to potentially make a play here in the river. Meteos looking for the engage, but will not be able to find it. Ryoma coming in from the flank. This could be absolutely huge if he's able to find the shuffle. It knocks Smoothie back, and there's your first kill of the fight. Pobelter having to kite his way out of this one. Does not have the shockwave, already used it. Ryoma going to be taken down now. Good counterattack coming out from CLG. Over the wall goes Ssumday. He is able to escape. Wiggily starting up the Baron here for Counter Logic Gaming, but the rest of the team is not about that. They'll take the crab and walk away 1 for 1.
Well kited there by Pobelter. It was a nice start from Ryoma, but he only really got Smoothie, and then Pobelter has the phase rush. He had his flash available. His Archangels, just actually finished stacking, so he had that shield to pop as well. And it does make him actually very difficult to knock down when you have the command protect, you have this Seraph shield, you have the phase rush. You're pretty slippery, and he actually played it very well to kite out to get to safety, and then allowing his team to be able to turn it around on Ryoma. They get a kill, they get that mid lane turret. Next Dragon's going to be up here in 30 seconds, and I do think we're going to see the teams going right back at it.
200 gold separates these two squads 22 minutes in as we fight for the 4th elemental Drake. Taking check of summoners, exactly what everything is ready to go for here. We have no flashes on anybody except Ssumday for the side of 100 Thieves. No flashes only on Pobelter and Wiggily for the side of CLG. So Ruin, Stixxay, and Smoothie having those available, particularly Smoothie, could have a big impact in the team fight with a massive flash initiation if he gets the opportunity here. Wiggily loses half his HP though, as Ryoma and Meteos get into a bit of a scuffle with these guys. Drake ready to go. Wiggily over in the jungle trying to use the chicken camp to heal up a little bit here. Doesn't want to have to go back to base. Doesn't want to surrender priority over this area. Pobelter has TP ready to come down to the fight if necessary. Ssumday is the same way. So both of these two could join this here. Stunt takes half his health and damage trying to secure vision over the upper part of this river. But 100 Thieves are backing away.
I think that's going to be all they actually needed, because he doesn't have the ability to actually heal up like Wiggily did. Wiggily had 2 charges of Smite, so he went in, used Smite on a Raptor, he healed back up. Ssumday is staying up on the top side. With Braum having to base, your only chance is really going for a steal, but it feels like too much of a one-way trip. So 100 Thieves, they botched the last dragon. This one, they just get poked out before it. Now the dragons are all tied up. They are going to be looking for Ruin here, but question mark pings are on that brush. They got spotted going in.
Oh, man, they found Ruin really quickly, though. A lot of damage coming through, but it will not be enough to burst him down. TP's coming in from both sides. 100 Thieves making the call to potentially pursue, but now they're falling back and looking to make a move onto Pobelter. They pop the Banshee's Veil, but Cody Sun's going to be taken very low. He's the first one to fall, and Pobelter will go immediately thereafter. Stunt still trying to make his way into the fight around the side. Meteos almost thrown up into the air, having to flash away to make sure he doesn't get caught. Smoothie down to 200 HP. As Stunt looks for the chance to come in on the flank. But CLG will do a good job protecting their support and disengaging.
Very close fight there on either side. It was 100 Thieves that were trying to actually set up this little pick in the brush, but they got spotted going into it. I think thanks to that ward that was over the wall there. So CLG decided to actually make the collapse. They go for it. Pobelter, I believe, TP'd in, and he does get taken down, but he had a nice shockwave out before, got a lot of damage down onto 100 Thieves that made that a very close fight.
CLG managing to stop the Drake stacking early on from 100 Thieves. That potential early win condition of having the soul 24, 25 minutes in, completely slammed on the brakes now. And as they're scaling up, you already talked about how much money is on Pobelter's Orianna. You can see the Banshee's Veil, the Seraph's Embrace, working on the Death Cap now. Importantly, Death Cap already completed for Ryoma. His 2 first items are Nashor's into that Death Cap. Just wants so much AP to be able to make sure he goes in and disintegrates these health bars. But he has to make sure he stays alive to do it. The last time we saw him go in and get the kill, he, yes, was able to find the pick onto Smoothie, but then dies for it. Not a trade 100 Thieves can be making as they move forward. Cody Sun also building that Death's Dance 3rd item. We know what this item can do, especially when you combine it with a champion like Aphelios. There's a lot of potential for some shenanigans in the team fights once that is done. Cody's not having the best game here so far, but we'll see if he can keep himself alive a little bit better once that comes online.
I mean, he's really well known as an excellent team fighter, and they are going for the engage, but it's going to get turned around.
I'm talking about Cody Sun being in a bad spot, and now he's getting himself away. But Pobelter's already found the kill onto Meteos, and CLG will continue pressuring forward. Cody stays back, Cody stays alive, but so does the entirety of CLG, and they'll find 2 kills.
They're going to find the Baron here also with Meteos down. 100 Thieves went for the engage, but a nice shift by Stixxay, getting out of there very quickly, avoided the Aphelios ultimate that was supposed to be that engage, and then Smoothie just instantly turned it around on them. They land so much AoE, and there's not really any opportunity for 100 Thieves to even get here in time. The Baron is just gone, and CLG, just like that, the first team to really take big control in this game.
So well done from CLG to recover from a shaky early game. Now 2,000 gold ahead, 26 minutes in. Really liking what we're seeing from this squad, and things do seem to just continue to get better for them. Even after having a shaky game last night against FlyQuest, today is looking better. And this is what I kind of wanted to see when we were talking about how they just couldn't find an answer for anything back in spring. I wanted to see a team that could learn from their mistakes, and that's what CLG is doing so much better of a job at here in the summer.
They really are, and the game is going to get harder and harder for Meteos, as, you know, not only is this Trundle building full tank and has a ton of CDR, meaning he's always going to pretty much have, you know, that ultimate available for any sort of fights, but, you know, he is double mountain, which is actually amplifying his resistances. Then he's going to be ulting Meteos and making him incredibly squishy while making himself even stronger. So as both these junglers build tank, it just gets better and better for Wiggily, and he is going to become a real frontliner, whereas Meteos is just going to be paper. You know, with 3 items on the mid laner, 3 items on the AD, he is going to be in trouble here.
Paper Bear thrown up into the air, having to jump away, but the damage continues pouring through. Nice job coming down from the CLG carries. It will be a 1-for-1 overall, as Ruin is going to be picked off by Ryoma and Ssumday in the bottom lane. Still a Baroned up 4-man squad from CLG will maintain the push here in the bottom lane, but Ryoma's Azir will make quick work of those minions, Baron buff or not. CLG does have the opportunity to steal away the blue buff here, deny that from the side of 100 Thieves. Stunt on the front line, potentially posing a threat to Stixxay, but that's an Ezreal. He's got Arcane Shift. It's not that big of a deal until the TP shows up. Smoothie and Stixxay trying to exit to the left, but Wiggly's going to be the target. Take the health bars you can get early on. Good God, Ryoma's already dead. CLG are turning this right back around, and they will get through this with no casualties, taking down 3 of the 100 Thieves.
Smoothie has been so on point with his engages there. 100 Thieves, they had the 4v4, felt like they needed to try to pressure, try to go for something. They TP in Ryoma, but he just TPs directly into a Smoothie engage and dies to Smoothie and Stixxay. CLG are going to get 2 inhibitors now, minimum, off of this. They are really blowing this game wide open. I felt like 100 Thieves had the wave clear with the Azir and the Aphelios to just sit back to try to, you know, just wait out this Baron buff. There's only 20 seconds left on it. I felt like they could have just turtled and wave cleared. Instead, they're the ones looking for the engage, and they're the ones who end up losing so much off of it.
It's a sloppy game from 100 Thieves. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When you try to make a teleport flank and you make it in a way that your opponents can instantly punish it and just shut it down and turn it around like that, clearly there was something wrong in the planning phase, and CLG will now pick up that 3rd Mountain Drake for themselves. This puts them on soul point and now forces 100 Thieves to answer every Drake after this.
I mean, it's one of those like high risk, high reward plays that Azir is going for, but I didn't feel like they were in a position where they needed to do something that risky, right? They were actually withstanding the Baron push just fine. They traded 1-for-1. The enemy top laner is dead. They were wave clearing at their tier 2. It's not even as though they were actually pinned under their inhibitor tower or anything. Their inhibitor tower hadn't even taken a point of damage yet. And you forced this play when you could have just sat back and wave cleared for literally 1 more wave, and then the Baron would have expired. Yep. And it results in all these kills. You know, the tier 2 goes down, both inhibitor towers go down, both inhibitors go down. It makes, you know, further plays almost impossible to do, because now you're just permanently pinned into your base. So I really think 100 Thieves completely botched it from that position.
And you're talking about being permanently pinned in the base, and what other fate is there now with these 2 inhibitors down, with nothing. CLG being 5,500 gold ahead, with the minion wave about to collide with the 1 remaining tier 2 turret? It just seems like we're in the final chapter of the book already for a game that had no kills for so long early on. CLG is now looking to put it away with not that much more time to go.
Yep, I mean, CLG is in such a great spot now. You know, 100 Thieves, they've got to just go into full turtle mode, try to farm it out. They still have that really good wave clear that I talked about, but with supers coming in mid and bot, it becomes so incredibly hard to actually defend your top turret there, because you have to send members down, or eventually those super minions will be on your nexus, will be hitting those towers. And right here's that situation where you get a couple shots in, the Sheen proc, the W from Ezreal, already that top turret is just about dead. And at this point, it's pretty much indefensible, because you have to actually go back and watch the bot and mid lane push. You know, the super minions are already in the base, so they're going to have to back off. you can just shield up Stixxay. He can walk forward and kill that, and then you're going to get triple inhibbed.
You know, I've talked to the broadcast before in past years about how my mom is a big fan of 100 Thieves, and I feel like I'm going to get a disappointed text message after this
Sorry,
game
Mom.
because of the way the team has handled everything after the early game, the way that they weren't able to continue building those dragons, the way that they put themselves in spots where they're forcing these unnecessary engages, and now the way that they're in a spot where they have to choose. Do you defend this last remaining inhibitor, or do you try to make the stand there at your 2 Nexus turrets? Because you're choosing between 2 bad options, trying to find whichever one is slightly less worse. But CLG will take down that last remaining inhibitor. There is only 9 seconds until the Baron spawns. The entire map is CLG territory. It's so easy for them to take this objective now.
I mean, I think as soon as they kind of had that botched engage and they gave up the double inhib, you were always going to lose that top inhib too. So they've kind of locked themselves into just wave clearing forever, and maybe you send Meteos out and you pray for a Baron steal. If you can get that, that would be great. There's no reason that CLG should even allow them to have an opportunity, but 100 Thieves are fully locked into the sit in your base, farm it out, pray your opponents make a good mistake, you know, because you have so much wave clear. But really at this point, that's all you have, because your opponents have Baron, they have triple inhib, they have Soul Point coming up here. It's just every option is there for CLG, and 100 Thieves really have none.
I think at this point, if you're 100 Thieves, you're just hoping for some really messed up initiation from CLG, where Smoothie goes in too early, or Ruin and Wiggily try to go around on a flank, or Pobelter misses a big shockwave, because you still have both carries at 3.5 big items, along with the boots being completed. So there is a lot of damage here if they get the chance to administer said damage. But they're so far behind in this game, there's not really the chance to do that before Pobelter and Stixxay just absolutely delete them, as Ssumday will take about 1/3 of Smoothie's health away, but then has to immediately back up.
Yep. And it honestly will probably take more than just the one mistake. It would take multiple, because, you know, even if Smoothie has a botched engage and dies, well, CLG can back off, and all the minion waves are permanently going to be in your base, so you can't actually get anything off of it. CLG is trying to actually set up to take these respawning inhibs down once more. Then they can head back towards this potential soul point for themselves. We'll see if Meteos can make anything happen. He's looking to set up for the flank. I think 100 Thieves is going to make the call to go.
Or Meteos could jog back away, and they try to respond to Baron minions, because there's so many of them here in this bottom lane. Inhibitor about to fall, but still kept alive. Turret raised by Azir there in the mid lane. Ryoma trying to buy a little bit of extra time, but you said it, man. Nexus turret's under pressure means you got to give those inhibs up. Go after what really matters. Stunt now going to be taken low, nearly taken down. True shot barrage into 2. Meteos into the back lines. Ryoma grabbing the kill onto Smoothie. Meteos barely keeping himself alive as Wiggily almost dies as well. Turret destroyed. Inhibitor destroyed. 100 Thieves being destroyed. Stunt will fall. Cody Sun will fall. Meteos the last man standing, but it will not matter. The Nexus is gone, and CLG will take their win.
CLG already surpassing their spring split total amount of victories, moving to 4-2. I mean, you laugh, but it's not a meme.
It's
right?
true. I mean, it's true.
It's gotta feel really, really good. Yes, you can look at it through the haha you sucked in spring lens, but why not look at it through the fact that they're 4-2. They are actually up near the top of the table. They have clearly made very big improvements. You can talk about strength of the schedule and say, oh, well, they only beat easy teams. Well, guess what? They played those teams in spring and they lost them pretty much every time. So there has been significant improvement from CLG. I think they should be very, very happy about that. Yes, there were still some mistakes from CLG, but overall, I think they played very well to their game plan. I think that Smoothie had the best game I've seen him play in a really long time. I thought he was so on point with his engages, so on point with his counter engages. Really almost a flawless game from Smoothie. Very, very impressed by that. And for 100 Thieves, I mean, you are now